I became a teacher 40 years ago, and when people hear that I'm still in the classroom, they think that I bring a considerable amount of experience to the work I do. But honestly, I look at it a different way, and I ask them, can you imagine how many bad lessons I've taught in 40 years? Now, don't get me wrong, I value my bad lessons. They've helped me learn a good deal about teaching and about the nature of children. And one of the things that I've noticed when I teach poorly is that the children in my classes behave in three distinct ways. The first children I notice are the fidgeters. Those children who'll play with anything they can get their hands on. They'll flick little pieces of paper, they'll crack their knuckles. I saw one boy try to stand his pencil on an eraser at least 12 times. Now, as a teacher, I value that. That's perseverance. These children are my kinesthetic learners, and they're trying to send me a message. They're saying, please, can you give me something purposeful to do with my hands? Now, there's a second type of child. Maybe you were this kind of child, the one who's too discreet to fidget. You would fold your hands, you give the appearance of paying attention, and then you gaze out the window, and you're gone. Gone to a place, an imaginative place that's rich in feeling, a place with suspense and humor and romance. These dreamy children are my social, emotional learners. And they're sending a message also. They're saying, please, teach me in a way that'll touch my heart. There's a third type of child. I call these children the clandestine readers. They slip the book out of their desk onto their lap, and they read while the teacher's teaching something that they've already learned. These children are committed to thinking new thoughts and entertaining new ideas. These three ways that children behave when I'm not teaching well, they represent the three essential needs of children: to be engaged actively, emotionally, and thoughtfully in every lesson. Today, in our standards-driven education, we are not engaging our children in a multidimensional way. Our approach to teaching is decidedly one-sided, and it's based on imparting information. And as a goal in education, imparting information is flawed for many reasons. But one is that much that we teach our children will be outdated by the time they're adults. I learned this early on. When I was in school as a boy, we were given a newspaper, the Weekly Reader. And I remember one issue on the front page, there was a picture of a man dressed all in a white suit. He looked like an astronaut. He had on a large white hood and a clear visor. He was a fireman. And the title of the article said, "Miracle Fiber." He was dressed entirely in asbestos. Asbestos was our miracle fiber 50 years ago. We were so keen on that friable carcinogen that we put it in our floor tiles, our ceiling tiles, our house shingles, and then we spent millions of dollars taking it out of our buildings. I ask myself, what's our asbestos today? What's our Pluto? What's our Soviet Union? What are the things that we're teaching our children that won't serve them when they're adults? And how do we prepare children for a world we can't envision? I contend that the best way to do that is to give our children capacities. And the three capacities that we should develop in them should align with the three essential needs that they have. The first capacity that we should give them is for active, red-blooded, vigorous activity. Activity that's disciplined and determined. An activity that develops a reservoir of willpower. And by willpower, I mean the same thing that Garrison Keillor refers to in his Powder Milk Biscuits commercial. The strength to get up and do what needs to be done. That's what our children are going to need to live in the problem-filled world that they're going to inherit from us. And the best way to begin to develop that capacity in a young child is through play. Because when children play, they are attentive and focused and totally involved in what they do. That's why you can't get them to come to the dinner table when you call them. They are at one, immersed, and that's a characteristic of genius. The Nobel Prize-winning geneticist Barbara McClintock said that when she was doing her research on the chromosomes of corn, she felt as if she was down in the microscope, on the slide with those chromosomes. And the more she observed them, the bigger they became. And then she forgot where she was and who she was. That's being in the zone. That's the flow state. That's where our children go when they play. The second capacity that we should develop in our children is a capacity for a deep, rich emotional life. An emotional life broad enough to hold the polarities that our complex modern world will demand of us. That they can, on the one hand, be sensitive and receptive to new experiences, and at the same time be strong and resilient enough to weather the crises that they will inevitably face. And the best way to develop this deep feeling capacity in our children is through art. And it is possible to integrate art into the teaching of all subjects in the elementary school. I would like to show you some examples of work done by the students that I teach in the 6th grade at the Waldorf School in Bethesda. This is an illustration from our work in astronomy on the study of the ecliptic. That band of constellations that's about 20 degrees wide in the sky, through which the sun and the moon and the planets all pass, and where the eclipses occur. Here's a drawing from our study of geometry, a complex construction that required that the students construct a perpendicular on the diameter, bisect the arcs, and connect all of the points carefully. This is a whole brain activity. It asks children for their cognitive ability, for their sequential thinking, for their fine motor skill, and for their artistic sensibility. Now, you may look at this work and think that the children that I teach are uniquely artistic, but I tell you, all children are artists. Years ago, I taught in a program in the D.C. public schools for children who've been removed from their classrooms for behavioral and emotional issues, and we did geometric drawings like this. And at the end of class, there were students who wouldn't leave. I went up to one boy once, and I said to him to move him along to his next period, and he looked at me and he said, "You know, you give me an ordinary lead pencil, I can't do much. You give me colored pencils, I'm an artist." Our children are artists. We should be teaching them through art and through play, because if we do that, we'll develop the third capacity that they're going to need for their lives. A capacity for a lively, curious, dynamic thinking, a playful thinking that will play with ideas and with problems. An imaginative, original, out-of-the-box thinking that will help our children ask the questions that our world is still waiting to have asked. With No Child Left Behind and Race to the Top, we have asked our children to use only half of their human intelligence, just the left side of their brain. And 50% is a failing grade by any standard. Our children deserve more, much more. They're waiting for our schools to change. Thank you.